Hey everyone, Rock DIY here. This is a 2003 Volkswagen Passat 2.8 liter 4Motion, and it is a V6 with 177,000 miles on it. I'm getting ready to change out the front brakes on this car, and I'll explain the reason why. Got new brakes on it, but I got to explain the reason why I'm changing them out. So I've got the parking brake on, got chock blocks behind the back tires, got my jack ready. I'm going to loosen up these lugs, take the tire off, and then I'll explain what's going on. Alright, you can see here, these pads look pretty new. The only issue is, this is an upper trim of the Volkswagen Passat, so it has sensors on both passenger and driver side front. But what was done, brake pads were purchased. Unfortunately, brake pads that were purchased don't have sensor cable connection on them. So on the dashboard, what is happening is there's an alert or an error message for check brake pads, and then also for ABS. And unfortunately, even if you bypass or tie these together, it's not going to prevent that from popping back up. So these new brake pads are going to be taken out, and the new ones are going to be put on, which is this one right here, which has brake sensor cable. And that's what I'm going to be doing now. Go ahead and take this spring clip off. You got to be careful not to bend it out of proportion, or it won't work very well. That is off. I'll go ahead and take this off. And unfortunately, when you have a car that's a 2003 with 177,000 miles on it, plastic pieces tend to break on all the time. So this one is not cooperating right now. Okay. That completely came apart. Should come apart like that. So it was basically sitting on there all broken. And this piece is jammed inside it, which luckily came off. That's out of the way. Now you need a 7mm hex wrench. There may be caps covering the hex bolt holes, but in some cases they may not be there. In fact, the other side of the car did not have these caps, typically called dust caps. Good to have in place to prevent corrosion. Like I said, 7mm hex, and you will have to loosen both of the bolts to get the brake caliper off. You can use a metal hanger or some metal wire to relieve some of the strain on the brake line by tying it to the caliper when you remove it, or you can just set it up on brake rotor right here, because if you're quick enough about it, you won't have to worry about having to hang it. It's going to take me a little while to get these bolts out, so I'll get these off and come back. Alright, once you get the hex bolts out far enough, it's just a matter of wiggling the caliper off like this, and then setting it up there. Removing the brake pads, and like I said, these are pretty much new. This is the inside brake pad, and you know that because of the clips that go inside the piston. Sure you can see that? Those clips go inside that piston. First things first, normally if you were changing the front brake pads, the brake pads would be very thin, but in this case the brake pads are new, so you may not need a C-clamp, but if you need to, you can take a C-clamp to push the piston in. Some cars, especially newer ones, have a brake management system, or they have a special tool you gotta have. There's no special tool or no setting that the car has to be on in order to push the piston in. Piston is pushed in. Now I can put the inside brake pad on, and then just to note, this little shim that's on here is basically anti-squeal, anti-rattle. They put these on here so you don't necessarily have to buy that tube of anti-squeal or anti-rattle. When you go to put this on, you definitely want to make sure that this cable doesn't get caught up anywhere. It needs to be sitting in the center. Even when you put it on, you don't want it up over the top. All right, and then there's the outside brake pad. This junction, the hard part is trying to get those 7mm hex bolts back in, because you gotta move the caliper while trying to spin the hex bolt in. Go ahead and turn the camera off and come back to this, because I will probably be here a while trying to get this lined up. Got both of the 7mm bolts tightened down. Now I need to put this spring clip back on, and the easiest way to do this is put these pins right here in first. And then just pull the outside on to the face. So that's good. Now just need to hook up this part. There is a little nub on this tab right here for when you put it in the little mount, and the mount is kind of tight. Okay, so that's on there. All right. Got the brake pad wear sensor cable hooked up. The other side had a broken clip, so I had to use a zip tie to keep it on. Other than that, it's all put back together. There's no need to bleed the brakes unless you have a bunch of excessive travel in your brake pedal. In this case, this car doesn't. So the only thing left to do is put the tire back on, put the lug nuts on, and then check to see if there's any fault lights.